Hi, everyone. Teresa, Carrie Jean, Donna. Hi, guys. Can you guys hear me and see me okay? Hi, everyone. Okay, perfect. So Teresa, you guys can hear me, see me. Okay, and you can see my screen. So yes, just let me know. I'm going to give everyone just a couple of minutes to log on. I know that a number of people are just going to be catching this on the replay. So I'm just going to give everyone one more minute before we jump into today's content. And while we're waiting, I would love to hear from you guys, right? Can you just drop into the chat where you're joining us from and what made you want to come to today's training? I would love to know. So yeah, please take a moment to introduce yourself. And I'm just going to give everyone one more minute to join before we kick off today's training. All right. I'm so excited that you guys are here. I have so many amazing things to share with you. Oh, awesome. Carol, you're joining us from Tucson. That's great. I'm sure it's a lot drier there than it is here in Seattle. Okay, Teresa, you're in Nevada. Okay, you're an author. Wonderful. Needs to assign various non-writing tasks to a VA. Okay, great. I think you're definitely going to get some great tips on how to source and really make sure that that hire is a great hire today. Okay, I'm going to give everyone one more minute and then we'll drop in. Oh, hi, Carrie Jean. Oh, you're in Arizona. Awesome. Bookkeeper could use a little assistance. Got you. Awesome. So excited that you're here. And you do need an assistant that can read your mind. Yeah, I hear you. Yes, definitely. We'll let Sherry in. All right. So I have a lot of content that I want to share with you guys today, and we're just going to jump right in. All right. So welcome everyone. I know that if you are not sure if you're in the right place, this is how to hire a unicorn, right? The 3 steps to really hiring the perfect VA, then one that can really read your mind and free up your time. And the tactics I'm really going to be sharing with you guys today are going to apply whether you are one solopreneur looking to hire one person, or if you already have an established team and you're making higher number, 50 or 100. All right. So these tactics apply to all of those scenarios, whether it's just one person that you want to hire or there are many people that you want to hire, right? That will all these tactics will always work. And I just want to jump right in because I know that I have a lot to share with you guys, and let's get into it, right? So today I'm going to be showing you the 3 exact steps to really hire the perfect VA, one that can read your mind so that you can really free up your time and really break out of that vicious DIY cycle. And so you have more freedom to grow your business and really live like a CEO. I know that that is what a lot of entrepreneurs are looking for when they start their businesses. That's certainly what I was hoping for when I started my business. And I'm sure that that's what a lot of you guys are also looking for now that you guys are in your businesses and working on them and growing them. Right. So those are the 3 things I'm going to share with you today, the exact steps to making sure that your hire is a perfect hire every single time. And you can really get out of that really vicious doing it yourself where everything is really landing on your shoulders cycle. And I do want to invite you to stay with me until the end because I will be announcing some very special bonuses if you do decide that you want my help hiring the perfect VA for you. All right. So make sure you stay with me until the end. And I just want to say, just take a few minutes to turn off your distractions, right? Grab your beverage of choice, turn off your notifications, and put up your do not disturb. Get your pen and your notebook, and really settle in and buckle up because I'm going to share the science and the tactics behind actually hiring a great hire, a unicorn hire every single time. All right. So make sure that you are in a place where you are distraction free, and that you have a pen and notebook with you to take some notes as we're going through today's training. All right. And with that, I just want to jump into, before we drop into the training, I want to make sure that you walk away with a way to free up time from your calendar right now. Whether you're going to hire immediately or, it's still a little bit a ways off for you, like I want you to be able to walk out of today's training and be able to free up at least 5 hours from your calendars, and you can do it in less than 10 minutes. And that's with my delegate and delete scorecard, right? So this is a scorecard that I use for myself, and I want to just share this exercise with you so that you can take it and complete it after today's training so that you can clear some time off your schedule, especially if you're feeling a little bit pressured, especially if your days are kind of running into each other and you're already feeling a bit overwhelmed in your days, all right? So this is the delegate and delete scorecard that's going to help you free up a ton of time. So the way that it works is you just need to do setup, right? Grab a pen, grab a piece of paper, and go to a quiet place, somewhere where you're not going to be distracted, somewhere where you're not going to be scrolling on Facebook, you're not seeing the email pings coming in. And when you get to that place, just set a 10-minute timer. That's it, 10 minutes, no more than that, right? Once you're there, brain dump every single task, every project, every task, every follow-up, every note, every to-do, any reminders that you have for yourself. Just jot it all down on that piece of paper. Like, write everything down. Don't judge anything. There's no, deciding whether it's important or not important. Anything that is on your plate, just go ahead and write that down on your piece of paper, all right? And then once you're done with that, once your 10-minute timer is up, go ahead and rate and score each task. So everything that you wrote on your piece of paper, you're going to score. You're going to rate and then score. So you're going to rate it for one, importance. How important is this activity to you? And how important is it to your business on a scale of 1 to 5? With 5 being like, yeah, this is critical. We cannot continue to operate without it. And 1 being like, nah, we do it. We don't do it. No one really notices the difference. And then you're going to rate those activities for interest. How interested are you in this activity? Is it something where it's a 5, where you would only do this and you would be happy with your days? Or is it a 1 where I would rather be doing anything else, right? So each activity will have two ratings, and then you're going to combine those for a total score. That might seem a little confusing. So this is what mine looks like. So you'll notice, first of all, that my handwriting is not great. And this is why I type most things. But this is what my scorecard really looks like. And I wrote down literally everything that we were working on, updates to templates that I wanted to make that my team was using, follow-ups, new clients that we were onboarding that we need to pick out gifts for. Everything gets a rating for how important is it to me and my business, and how interested am I in that task. And they all have total scores. And when you're going through this, guys, I just want you to remember that to be really kind of honest with your ratings, because it's very tempting to say, hey, everything on the list is super important. Everything on the list I'm super interested in because it's my business. But I guarantee you that most of the items on your list are probably not a 5, right? Most of them are probably not of critical importance to you, and they're probably not of critical or very super high interest to you either. So really be honest about those ratings, because it is really easy to want to say, okay, I'm the owner, everything is super important, I do everything. So just really be honest with those ratings, right? So you'll see that I do have the ratings, and then I have my scores. And then what you're going to do that's really going to be able to drop things off of your to-do list is use the scorecard to take action on those tasks, right? So this is what the scoring feature really looks like. So if your task or activity on your list scores between a 9 and a 10, that is a critical task. It stays with you. You continue to do that task. If it scores between a 5 and an 8, okay, so it's important, right? It's either really important or you're highly interested in it. So you can go ahead and delegate that with control, with systems, with quality assurance, all right? If it's a 4 or below, these are things you're probably not super interested in or not super important to your business. So go ahead and automate, streamline, or just delete it altogether, right? So this is, again, what mine looks like. And I do this activity a couple times a year to make whenever my workload starts to feel a little bit heavy, to make sure that I'm leveraging my team, I'm using them to the best of my ability, and that they're really there to support me, and to make sure that, hey, I have the right roles in my team supporting me. So you'll see a number of the blue crossouts are things that we're just not going to do, right? Like, I don't actually need to update and rebrand my templates. They're still usable, but I have new brand colors, and that's not actually that important to me or my business. So I went ahead and crossed that out. So anything that I've crossed out in blue, we're just not going to do, right? We're not going to do that anymore. And it's just a way for me to be like, oh, okay, you know what? Rationally, I know that this is really not that important to me. So I'm just going to take it off my list, and it's not clogging up space in my brain anymore. And then you'll see that there are a number of items that are highlighted in pink. And those are the things that scored between a 5 and an 8. And those are things that, like, oh, I realized I was taking up for my team. So those were things that I know I needed to delegate to them, and that I could take them off of my plate once and for all, right? So this is how you guys are going to be able to really take off a few things on your to-do list. I imagine that there's going to be at least a handful of things that will fall off your to-dos immediately, and this will also kind of help shape, kind of the idea of what role you're willing to hire going into the future. All right, does that sound good to you guys? Can you just like give me a thumbs up or drop into the chat if that makes sense for you and is resonating with you? Because this is a really vital activity that I continuously do. I do it at least a couple times a year, and it is a really important metric when you do have support, or if you're thinking about hiring support within your team. All right, so this is going to be the first of many takeaways for you today. And so let's actually get into it. So let's talk about why you're actually here, right? So you have mentioned that you guys have needed some assistance. So maybe you're here because you know you need help, because you are running by yourself or running really lean, you're working really late, long hours, but you don't really know where to get started, right? And you're really maybe a little bit nervous or unsure about the logistics of hiring. You're not sure where to look, you're not sure how to interview, how you're going to hire or evaluate candidates, how you're going to bring them into your team. If that's you, then you are definitely in the right place. All right. You might also fall into this bucket, right? Like you're in this category. Maybe you have hired help, right? Maybe you have a VA or a couple of VAs, or maybe you've hired a VA in the past but don't have one right now. But you still don't really feel free in your business, right? You maybe feel a little bit anxious and on edge, and like you constantly need to check in with your VA. Then you are in the right place if you've hired and you just don't feel like you can really let go, and you really feel the need to double check or redo a lot of their work. If that's you, then you're definitely in the right place as well. And then the third reason that I see a lot of people show up is maybe you have hired a VA and you're really not sure how to replicate that success. You feel like maybe you just got a little lucky with the VA that you hired, and you want to grow your team, but you're not really sure how to do that. Um, so those are usually the three categories that I see people who come to my events or who want to learn more about hiring a VA. So which one are you, right? Do you fall into category number one, where you know you need to hire, but you don't really know where to start? Are you in category number two, where maybe you've hired a VA, but you still feel really anxious and you don't really feel free and managing them feels heavy? Or are you number three, where you have a good VA, but you don't know how to replicate that success as you grow? Or is it something else altogether? Drop it into the chat, guys. Let me know kind of where you're starting at, so that we can kind of level set today's training event. But those are usually the three categories that most people come to me in. All right. And well, whatever the reason you're here, whether it's one of these three categories or not, I support you. And you're still going to get a ton out of today's presentation. All right. So I just want to take a couple minutes to introduce myself if we've never met before, and just tell you a little bit about my background. So first of all, I am an ex-Wall Street investment banker that actually never wanted to be an entrepreneur. That's a different story for another time. I am now an online entrepreneur, deep, deep, deep in the woo. That's me doing a fortune telling ceremony in Vietnam. And I'm also the doting Auntie Dang Dang to baby Levi and most recently baby Parker, my most favorite nephews in the entire world. But what I really want you guys to know is that I've also launched 5 multi-million-dollar hedge funds. I've managed 6 multi-six and seven-figure businesses for my clients. I have 15 years of experience creating systems, running operations, building teams at large financial institutions, and I've interviewed hundreds of candidates, and I've personally hired, trained, and managed over 75 candidates for large financial institutions. Now I run a lean, mean 5-person team. I make multi-six figures for the last 2 years, and I do it in less than 25 hours a week. Honestly, I probably work less than 20, but these are part-time hours, right? So can you imagine what your life would look like if you had your thriving business run by a team that you trust and it took less than 25 hours a week for you? Can you imagine that? Is that something that you want for yourself, right? Because the truth is, hiring a unicorn or even a team of unicorn VAs, the ones that really believe in your vision, that make it happen for you, and that don't need a whole lot of hand holding to make it happen, it all comes down to taking the right steps before you even start to look for that VA, right? It is more of a science than an art. And I'm going to be sharing that science behind hiring with you today. All right, so if you are anything like me and you want to know exactly where we're going, let me take you through a little bit of a roadmap of today's events. All right, so um, well, first I will show you how to create the role for you that is actually going to set you up for freedom, and it might surprise you what that role is, and it might be very different from the VA role that you're imagining in your head. Then I will show you how to build the internal systems that will make your VA successful in supporting you. Then we'll get to the secret sauce where I will share the shifting and the allowance and empowering mindset that will let you delegate once and for all. And then if you really like what you learned here and you want to work with me, I'll show you how to do that. And then finally, we'll dive into the Q&A. So guys, save all of your questions until the end because I don't want anything to get lost in the chat. So I have dedicated time. I will answer as many questions as I possibly can for you guys. So make sure you're saving those questions until the end. Does that sound good? Just like give me a thumbs up or let me know in the chat. I can't imagine anyone is gonna not like a roadmap. Awesome. Okay, so let's actually jump into it, right? So if you're here and you've been thinking along the lines of, well, what will my VA do? Or how will my VA, what work should I give my VA? Or how will my VA actually help me? And you've been holding off on hiring because of it, you are not alone, right? These are questions that I hear all the time. And the first step to hiring a unicorn VA, whether it's number 1 or number 100, is answering these questions every single time, right? So the first step to really being able to hire a unicorn VA for you, someone who's going to really be able to support you, is to really define and categorize the work that needs to get off your plate right now so that you can grow. Because without designing the role, without having any clarity around what you need to grow right now, you're actually getting stuck in a vicious cycle, right? This is the vicious cycle where you're time poor. You know you have a lot of work to do. Maybe you're drowning in your to-dos and you know you need help, but you don't really know what to hand off. So you delay, you wait, you're kind of waiting for that free moment where you have some free time and some spaciousness where you can think about it, right? And you delay that hiring and you don't delegate. And then more and more ends up falling back into your bucket. More and more keeps falling back into your plate. This also happens if you already have a VA on your team, but you're really not sure what to give to them, right? So I know a lot of people make hires and they get into it and they're like, oh, well, I hired the person, but I wasn't really clear or wasn't sure what I wanted to give them to begin with, right? And then they end up in the same cycle where you're just continuously picking up the slack for yourself or for your VA, and it ends up trapping you really in your business. This is a cycle that I see really, really frequently with a lot of business owners, whether they are hired someone, they're just not really sure what they want to hand off, so they just keep everything, or they delay the hiring process because they are not sure what they're going to hand off or really kind of what work their VA can really do for them, right? So how do you really break out of this cycle? And that means defining the role that you actually need for your business right now. You can resolve all of those questions about what your VA is going to do, how they're going to help you grow your business, how they're going to support your business by defining the role, the duties, and the responsibilities before you even hire, before you even start to look, right? This is something that you should do before you start looking for your VA, because you need to know what kind of VA you're looking for. You need to know what kind of support is actually going to free up your time, because VAs come in so many different shapes. They come in so many different sizes, forms, skill sets, rates, locations. There's so many variables. If you don't actually know what type of VA that you're looking for, it's really, really hard to find a great fit, right? Because VA is really an umbrella term. It really covers anyone who works online who supports businesses. So that is kind of the level setting that I want you guys to come to your role structuring with. If it's anything, any support that you could have in your business, it's really hard to define. It's really hard to hire for that when you're not sure what support you need personally, right? And the definition phase, I've actually shown you a really super easy way to do this. I've already showed you how to create and define the role in a really easy way. That is the delegate and delete scorecard. So go back to your scorecard as you're defining your role, right? Look at everything that you categorize between a 2 and an 8. Categorize all those things, start to pull them out, and you will see really clearly that there is a clear grouping. There are clear categories of support that you need, and that will help you shape this role. It'll become very quick and crystal clear what role you really need to free up your time and support your business, while also kind of resolving all of those questions around, well, what will my VA do? What work will I give them? How will we work together? What are they going to actually do within my business? And that'll be kind of your first stepping stone to kind of getting out of the vicious cycle and getting out of the like, well, let me just delay hiring. Let me just like delay this. I'm not quite sure yet. So let's just wait on it a little bit, right? And that's something that was very similar to one of my clients. She was a life coach based out of San Francisco. She made her first 100K in 2020 and was on track to do 150 in 2021. But about end of Q1 going into March, April, she was really struggling in her business because of capacity issues, because of challenges. She'd never hired before, but she came to me very, very sure, like super certain. Like she told me, I want to hire a general VA. That is the role that I absolutely need. But she really wanted my help because she didn't want to waste any time figuring out how to onboard them and how to manage them, right? So the result went from her being super adamant that she needed just a general VA role to her actually needing to hire a marketing role. And when she did hire that role, it cut her workload by almost 50%. It was a little over 40% right after the bat, right? It would have been a really bad idea for her to hire a general VA because that general VA wouldn't have been able to support her. It would have pretty much set her up for a bad experience. You know, I meet a lot of people who hire and they're like, I had a bad experience, or my workload still feels really heavy. I don't know why this person isn't supporting me. Well, a lot of times it comes down to the fact that you didn't hire the right type of support that you really needed in your business to support you and to take things off of your plate, right? So really be clear about this role and definitely go back to the exercise that we did at the beginning. That will help you shape the role that you need within your team to make sure that you're really successful right at the start, right? So that is one of the biggest keys before you even start your search, is to make sure that you know what you're actually looking for. So I want to hear from you guys. You know, did you come here today with the idea that you knew what role you needed to hire? Let me know. Drop it into the chat. What did you think you were going to hire? What role did you think you were going to hire when you came to today's training? And does this change your mind a little bit and make you kind of think about the role that you might need a little bit differently? Like, I would love to hear from you guys. So drop it into the chat and let me know, because I just want to say that, you know, you might be dragging your feet and you might be really worried about the hiring piece before you even get started, because you're not really clear on how you're going to utilize your VA, because you're not clear on what their role is going to be. So get really clear on the role, get really clear on the tasks and the activities that they're going to be doing, so that you can hire the right type of role. Because unicorns, again, they come in a lot of different shapes and sizes. So get clear on the type of unicorn you're looking for, and it'll be a great big leap towards making sure that you have a great hire that really does free up your time and help you grow. And I know, Sherry, you said you need social media content support. Well, what does that mean? Because social media managers and social media VAs all do some very, very different things. So be very clear about the type of support in terms of the content creation that you really need, right? So that is the biggest thing that I can say before you even start to hire is make sure you're actually hiring for the right role, because this is a stumbling block that I see with a lot of business owners who are kind of coming into the space. They're like, oh, I just need to hire, I need to hire, I need to hire. And it ultimately sets them up for not failure, but like it sets them up to be kind of in a rough, unsupported situation where they feel like, oh, well, why is this person not doing what I need? Why is my workload, why did I hire you and my workload still feels really heavy? And those are the questions and those are the challenges we want to stem before you get to them. All right. So let me know if that's making sense for you guys and if that's resonating. Let me know in the chat. I would love to hear from you. And I'm gonna actually move on to step number 2 is like to hiring a unicorn is you actually have to create the internal success settings so that your unicorn can thrive. It means creating the internal systems so that your unicorn can really be a useful resource within your team. All right. So, and the reason I focus on this is because I get a lot of people who are like, yay, so I've hired. Now what? Now what do I do? Or, oh my God, I've hired someone. What the hell do I do now? Or they have questions around how will my VA and I actually work together? Or even where it's like, wait, I'm actually supposed to manage them. And let me just kind of take a side note here. If you are thinking that your VA is going to manage you, that is not a that's not a great position for you to be in. When you're abdicating control and putting your VA into the leadership sheet, that is, I guarantee you are setting yourself up for a bad experience. So I just want to kind of segue and mention that. But if any of these are your questions or concerns or kind of like thoughts that you have as you're thinking about hiring, then you really need to focus on your internal systems, your internal processes, and how you work as a business. Because 9 times out of 10, hiring and performance issues have nothing to do with the team member or the person you hire. That's 90% of the time, they are issues with training and or leadership. So there was there's a group called SHRM, which is a society of HR managers, and they interviewed thousands and thousands of managers across different companies, different sizes, different locations, and they investigated, issues around like complaints of like, oh, well, this person, like I made bad hires, or this person wasn't performing very well. And when they investigated those things, 90% of the time, they found that those poor performance issues or those people who were not performing well it had nothing to do with the actual skill set or the actual team member or the person that they had hired. And they were actually core issues with training and or leadership, right? And in most cases, it was both. So, and this really applies to you and me, all of us as online business owners, because the success of your VA really starts with you. You are in the driver's seat. You as the CEO, you're the leader of your business, and you are in charge of really creating a structure for them to be successful. And that means creating systems for them to be successful in supporting you, because reading your mind is actually very, very easy when you have the systems and the processes for it, right? So the questions really become is like, well, how do I create the systems for my VA, right? And it's really by answering these 4 core questions. Well, what do I need to hear or see from my VA to feel secure? Do you need to hear them give you a status update every day, every week, every few days? What is that, right? Do you need to see them checking off to-dos on a shared Google document or in your project management tool? What do you really need to hear and see from them to feel secure and to know that work is going through the process? The second question is like, well, what do I need to receive for my VA to know that work is getting done. So do you need them to send you an email update closing out the day, right? Do you need them to send you a voice note letting them know that they got your message? Or do you need them to, drop you a comment in a project management tool or in your a shared Google document where you're storing tasks? What do you need to receive to know that, okay, you are doing work, right? Do you even need to do they need to set up a smoke signal? There has to be something, a process around how you can feel secure about them doing the actual work, right? And then also, like, what instructions do I need to give to my VA so that work is getting done? So do you have a particular way that you like to see things on your calendar? Do you have a particular way that you like your clients referred to? Is there a particular way you like your files organized in your cloud storage center, right? So if so, say so, right? Give your VAs the instructions so that they can do it that way, and they're doing it the same way that you want it done. All right. And then this is really important, especially if you are high in creative resources, is like, what feedback do I need to give my VA? So the work meets my standards, right? So are you handing over creative work, design work, website design, graphic design, content writing, things like that, things that are maybe a little bit fluid, or they leave things to open to interpretation? Well, what does that feedback cycle look like? What feedback is do you need to give them so that they can start to produce work up to your standard, right? And that is a process. That is, when are you going to give them feedback? How is it going to be delivered to them? And how are they going to reply to that? These are all questions that you need to answer as the CEO leading your VA, because the answers to all of those questions are actually the pathway for your VA to be able to learn how to read your mind. You can teach your VA how to read your mind by giving them the systems and the insight and to understand, well, how do you think? What are your preferences? What do you really need support in? How do you like to see things done? This is the way for them to really be able to understand you, understand how you like to work, and really start to produce work that you want them to produce. It's really how they're going to be able to successfully support you and successfully show up for you, right? Because how do you think your VA, whether you have them now or you're going to hire someone in the future, how do you think that they would show up if they knew exactly what they were responsible for and how to do it? Can you guys just drop that into the chat and let me know, like, how do you think that they would show up? Do you think they would show up for you? Do you think that they would really be able to perform at a higher level? Do you think it would still be you would still have that certain level of uncertainty? Because more often than not, being able to prepare those systems for everyone that's coming into your team, whether it is a VA or someone else, is really an important pathway for them to really start to understand you, because it is a short step from understanding kind of how you like to do things to being able to proactively support you. Once I know what the baseline is, and I'm like, oh, okay, if you like to see things in this way, I'm always going to prepare it in this way, or I can take the next forward step in making sure that you always get what you need. And that's a step that I think a lot of business owners are looking for, but they don't prepare for it. They don't prepare to have it within their team. They just kind of expect it to really show up. And that's something that really needs to be taught. It's a little bit of, yeah, you have experience. The person I'm going to hire isn't going to be totally inexperienced, but also it doesn't matter whether they are the most experienced. They will still need ramp up time. They will still need to understand how you like to work, right? So those are things that need to be prepared before you bring them into your team. And that's exactly what one of my clients struggled with. They were a childhood development coach based out of LA. They had annual revenues around 270K. They hired a team, right? The full team, but they still really felt really stressed, uncertain, and a little bit run over by the team. Like, the team was in the driver's seat, and she as the CEO was not, right? There wasn't enough communication, not enough coordination, and not enough accountability. And too much work was really ending up in my client's plate. So she really wanted to turn things around fast, because she was at a place where, okay, I've hired the team and now I'm paying and I'm still working a lot, right? So she brought me on because she really wanted to turn these things around fast. And after our work together, she went from really stressed and uncertain to a team of aces that really allowed her to take off the entire summer, totally off and unplugged while her team ran things. And she was on track to actually do over 300K now this year. The core challenge was because the team was kind of running off in all directions, and they were guessing at, well, I mean, she said she wanted us to create content. She said she wanted us to prepare the newsletter. I think this is kind of what we should be doing. I think this is the tone that she wants. So a lot of work was ending up back on her plate, especially around her marketing hires who were um who were trying to get like, I'm not quite sure. I need to kind of guess at it a little bit. And that's where a lot of work was ending up back on her plate because she's like, oh, well, this isn't right. This is not what I wanted. So I'm going to actually just redo it all myself, right? And that's where you really need your processes in place. So once I built those specific systems for her, she was able to do a total 180, right? The team totally turned around within a month of us kind of re-onboarding them, total 180, and not one person was fired, right? So we were able to just reorganize the team and get them back into like the groove of working together. Sherry, you said you're confused. You mentioned your example of a VA doing website design. Wouldn't that you hire a web designer? What are we talking about, assistant? That's exactly what I'm saying in terms of defining your role, Sherry. A VA, like I do know a lot of people, VAs who do web design work. And I know a lot of web designers who will do some admin work, right? So this is about like, I want to say that VA really is a big umbrella term. And you'll find people who do a lot of this work, whether it's design work or whether it is updating your website, whether it's doing graphic design, who will call themselves VA. So that's why you really need to focus in on the role and the work that they're actually going to be doing, because the umbrella term is really a VA, right? Like anyone who can support your business online can be a VA. So when I'm talking about a VA here, I'm talking about, it could be really any role within your business that is supporting you. I'm not just talking about general admin, because most of the time a VA can be anything. They can be a strategist, they can be marketing, they can be social media, they can be content writers, they can be general admin, they can be project managers, they can do website updates, they can do web maintenance, they can do development, they can do all of those things. All right, so if anyone was a little bit unclear about that, then I just want to kind of clarify that there is that when I talk about assistants or virtual assistants, it's really anyone who can support your businesses, because as I've hired and managed and trained a lot of team members for my clients, really you'll be surprised at like what someone calling themselves a VA will do, right? And a lot of times it's a matter of actually not even really looking at the titles, but really focusing in on the work that needs to be done and comparing it to their service offerings, then looking at their general titles more than anything else, right? So when you're hiring a successful VA, right, the one that can read your mind and really freed up your time, so you have to start as the leader by creating a pathway for them to successfully support you. Define your systems and your processes so that you can turn almost anyone, literally almost anyone, into that perfect hire for you, that unicorn VA for you. All right. So having that special unicorn isn't actually that hard when you actually have the processes in place for how you want them to support you, because then they have a step up in learning how to read your mind, right? They can really be proactive once they know what the baseline is, and they don't have to waste time trying to figure it out. Like, oh, I wonder if this is how she wants. I wonder if I should be sending updates about this. I wonder if this is what the newsletter should look like, things like that, right? So you want to lay the groundwork so that anyone, whether it's a VA or anyone else coming into your team to support you, can really be successful. And then the third step, and this is really the secret sauce, guys, this is really shifting into an allowance and empowering mindset so you can really delegate once and for all. Because what might have happened is like, okay, maybe you feel really good about hiring now, or maybe you've always felt really good about hiring and you're not in that real vicious DIY cycle. But maybe you broke out of one cycle and are now trapped in another, the one where you can't unplug, where you're continuously preoccupied by your business, you're anxious and insecure, and you're unsure. While you're like, I know I've been in this space where I hired my first team members where I was like, oh yeah, I'm doing all the self-care things. I'm taking off, I'm getting a massage. But as I was getting the massage, all I could think about was how much longer until this is over so I can go and check my email. I did not feel comfortable unplugging from my team. And that's another vicious cycle that it's really easy to get trapped in when you're just constantly preoccupied and kind of not feeling secure with the people who are supporting and kind of managing and running your business with you, right? And the reason for that anxiety, that kind of like stress and that anxiousness when you're away from your computer, when you're away from your email, and why you feel like you can't really depend on a VA or anyone coming into your team is because of lack of trust. And the biggest obstacle to delegating and being free is lack of trust, right? Like that is the biggest thing that needs to be established. So how do you do that, right? Because the success of your VA or literally anyone really, again, starts with you. Like, how do you, as the owner, as the leader, build trust? Lucky for you, you're here because you can actually systematically build trust. But it does need to be a priority for you. So anyone coming into your team, whether it is VA number 1 or VA number 100, the priority is establishing trust. And this is how you're going to be able to turn off your concerns about whether your VA is doing a good job. This is how you're going to be able to turn off your concerns about, oh, are they actually working right now? Or the concerns about like, oh, did they get that message, that task that I really needed them to do? I wonder if they got that email. I wonder if they actually are going to do it. Being able to turn off all of that micromanaging and letting go and knowing with a certain amount of certainty that your team or your VA has it and will do a good job is all based around establishing trust. So the question is, well, how do you do that? How do you actually establish trust? And how do you do it fast? Because I can't imagine that anyone here really wants to be in a place where you feel like insecure and anxious and uncertain for a long period of time, right? So the fastest way to establish trust is to really just clearly and consistently communicate your systems. By communicating your systems and being vocal about when they're not being met. Because when you want to feel secure with someone who you're working with, you have to feel heard, right? But if you don't say anything, you will not be heard, right? So those are the really most important pieces. And the fact of the matter is, when you have a process, it's not just like, oh, well, I feel like you're doing a bad job. Well, no, I know, because you're not following the process, right? So this alleviates and removes that kind of layer of like of uncertainty where I'm like, you might be doing a good job, you might not be doing a good job. I'm just not sure, right? And that is where a lot of other business owners get stuck too, where you get stuck with hires. You make a hire, and you're like, I don't know if they're doing a really good job, and there's no way to evaluate them because everything is like the work they're doing is still pretty amorphous, right? It's still kind of like on the fly. You're just kind of trying to figure it out. When you have a process that you're working against, you can say with certainty, hey, yeah, you're doing a great job because you're checking all of the boxes on the process. Or actually, I definitively know that you're not doing a good job because you're not using the process at all, right? So that's where your processes really come into play. And you really need to be vocal about it. And I just want to say, like, there's no need to be mean. There's no need to like really berate. So you're doing a really terrible job. But it is all about clear and consistent communication around what those processes are and just being vocal. Like, hey, this is like, you didn't actually like, we have a process for this and it didn't meet the standard. So can you please make sure that you're doing it that way? Or do you have questions about it? It's about bringing back the conversation to the way that you actually want it done. And that might seem a little too easy, right? Like that might seem a little bit too easy. And you might be thinking at this point, well, it can't be just that. It can't be that simple or straightforward. And this still makes you feel a little bit anxious and stressed. And you need like a formula or a strategy or another tactic other than just communicating and asking for what you need. Well, then I want to do a mindset check. All right. So drop it into the chat. What keeps you from trusting and letting go of work? What are the things that you are afraid of happening if you delegate them out to a VA? Drop that into the chat, guys, because this is actually really, really important, because there is a way to guarantee that your VA will give you exactly what you want, and you can build trust really fast. But it all starts with this question, right? And when you guys are doing that, I'm going to go over some of the most common answers that I get, right? So what is keeping you from just trusting and letting go and not thinking about work that you delegate again? Some of the common answers I get is, well, my VA won't do it as well as me. My VA might drop the ball. My VA won't know the way that I want it done. Or I won't know when work is getting done. So how could I possibly ever let go? You know, so yeah, like, or some variation of this, right? If your questions kind of fall into these similar categories, then we need to go back to your internal systems, right? Go back and revise the internal systems, revise your systems to include the tasks, the activities, the check-in points, the qualities that will make you feel comfortable letting go. And then those complete systems are the ones that you communicate and hold your VA accountable for. So, for example, if you're afraid that your VA is going to drop the ball or not do a good job, and that you got to like micromanage them in order for them to work, well, then build the system around how work is managed and assigned and completed to keep you in the know, right? So, or if you are afraid that your VA won't do it the way that you want it done, or will take too many liberties and you won't get a good product or end result, then you build a system around the way that work is done, the way that you would do it, so that they are doing it the way that you actually want it done, right? So that's how you systemize building trust. If I tell you how I want it done and you're not doing it, well, then we have a different issue. I know for certain that you're not doing it, and we can address that issue and we can work towards, okay, well, how are we going to make sure that you're doing it this way? What is standing in the way of you doing it the way that I've asked you to do it? And that is how you're able to really build trust with your team. If I know if they're following the process and I know that we're clear on the process, then it's a way for me to be like, all right, I got it, you got it. I'm going to let this go, right? Like there's a process in my team when if I generally will put all of our tasks into our project management tool if I need someone to do something. But on the off chance, like sometimes I do, right? If I'm running around and I am not able to get to our project management tool, I will send off an email to my team saying, hey, I just need this done. And there is a process or a written rule in my team where if I send you an email or if I assign work to you while we're in a meeting during like our one-on-one, it is your responsibility as my team member to make sure that that gets into our project management tool, and then you're managing it the same way that you manage all of our other tasks, right? And that's how I know when I see that it is shown up in our project management tool, okay, I got it, you know what to do, you can manage this. I don't have to worry about when I send you emails with tasks or work to do, because you are following the process and you have followed the process consistently around that. Because you can systemize how you build trust, and it's about building all the things that you need to feel trust into your process and just letting them know. It's a matter of letting them know what the process actually is. And this is something that one of my recent clients actually struggled with. They are a boutique HR consulting firm based out of New York City. Average revenue was about 390K. They had a big team, right? They had a pretty robust team. They had 2 full-time consultants, a full-time ops manager, a full-time admin assistant, and then a whole bunch of freelancers that worked around the business. And there was plenty, a lot of support for the CEO. But for some reason, the CEO was still constantly double booked. She was working all of her weekends. I mean, her day really started at 7 a.m. and didn't end until about 11 p.m. Where she was taking client calls based on their time zones. And she was really drowning in client work. So she brought me on because she wanted to realign the team and the processes to really be able to delegate once and for all. And after our intensives, we were able to go from really micromanaging CEO to really systemize an empowered team that allowed the CEO to transition 5 of her clients off of her book and into her team. And so she was working less, and she was able to actually launch a brand new offer, a new service that people have been asking for a really long time. And the real issue was that there was no standardization. No one knew what she really wanted. They knew like, okay, I like a lot of the consultants that were coming in or supporting her were, okay, I know we do HR, and I know that I'm supposed to show up for our client, but how I do that, I'm just going to use my best guess, or I'm gonna do what I think is best to serve this client in this way, because there was no standardization. No one had said at the onset, like, this is how we're going to do it. This is the slide deck that I want you to use when you present to our clients, things like that. So everything was kind of up in the air, whatever anyone thought at that moment, like, well, this might be a good idea. This looks good. We'll just run with this. And that's why the CEO is feeling really insecure, because she never felt like she could hand off work. And she's like, well, it doesn't look like the deck that I made. I just made a new one. And she really couldn't let go. So we built the systems around how we do internal client updates, how client communications were handled, timelines were handled, things like that. And that was able to bring them in really tighter as a team to be able to push off work. Because she's like, oh, if everyone's going to do it the same way and we're running this process after a while, okay, we're good. I don't need to worry about this anymore, right? So when you're actually hiring, you'll be able to delegate once and for all. Your priority needs to be establishing that trust. So really ask yourself what you need to feel safe letting go, and integrate those needs into your processes, into what you what you're communicating to your team. And that's how you systemize the building of trust. All right. So I took you guys through a lot. Are you still with me? Like, can you just give me a thumbs up or like a yes in the chat box? Um, so uh, I know that that was a lot, but these are the three things that really need to happen when you are trying to hire a perfect fit VA. And these are the processes that I use when I'm hiring for my clients or I'm hiring for myself. It's all about defining the role that was going to free up your time at the onset, right? And that's being very specific. It's not because again, VA is a really big umbrella term, and being specific about what work it's that role needs to do. And I really focus on the work more than I focus on titles, because honestly, anyone can call themselves whatever they want in the online space. And it really comes down to, well, do you do the work that I need you to do? That's what I'm looking for. So really focus in on the role and the work they're actually going to be doing. It's about creating the pathway, the systems pathway for your VA to really be successful and give them a leg up so they can start to learn how to read your mind. It is a learning process, right? And then to build trust by making sure that we're communicating and we're being held accountable to those systems really, really consistently. That is the process, really, to make sure that every hire is a great hire every single time, right? And I know that this probably leads to a really obvious question, right? So do you want the same results? Do you want the unicorn VA that is going to move your goals forward for you? Do you want to have 5-figure weeks or where you're on vacation, unplugged? Do you want to reclaim like up to 10 hours of time each week, right? Because if you do, you really have two options, right? You can continue to DIY and maybe live in and out of that vicious cycle of overwhelm and trying to find time to hire and going through trial and error. Or option two is to really let me help you skip past the uncertainty and go straight to fully supported CEO, right? So if you are ready for option two, then I want to personally invite you to book a Dream Team Intensive with me. And the Dream Team Intensive is the only combination VIP day and done for you experience that creates your actual hiring, your onboarding, and your management systems for you so that you can go from a disorganized and uncertain to systemized CEO ready to lead the perfect VA today. And you have the systems and the tools to build the perfect team that's going to run your business for you tomorrow. What you experience in this intensive is the really luxurious Diane Lam Co. signature systems blueprinting process, where we will address every single one of your concerns about hiring and building and managing your team. We'll have clear definition around the systems that will set you up for success and make you feel secure and in control of your business. Then we will actually build the systems for you. So you have the complete 1, 2, 3-step process for hiring, for onboarding, for managing your VA and any future team members with confidence. You get the custom templates to actually run your system, and it will take your onboarding from 10 hours to 10 minutes. And then you also get the training for the system. So you know exactly how to manage them, you know exactly how they're going to work, and you can handle any hire like a seasoned CEO, all right? So the systems themselves are the hiring systems. You get everything listed here, you will get as part of the hiring system. And this is really to take any guesswork out of your hiring process. You will have a clear defined process for creating job descriptions, applications, where to look, how to interview, how to evaluate your candidates for the perfect fit. Then you'll get your team onboarding systems created for you. And the secret sauce to a highly engaged, motivated team member is onboarding them so they're excited about your business and your vision. They know exactly where they fit in and how they support it. So I will build your entire onboarding process for you so that you can take it from 10 hours again to 10 minutes and you're prepared to onboard and blast forward. And then we'll build the team management systems so that you can answer the question, well, okay, so you hired, now what? I will break all of the ice for you, and I will design your team management system so that you can lead like a CEO and train you so that you feel confident leaning on your systems and you know that they will work whether you're hiring one VA or you're hiring 20. And then we'll celebrate, because then you'll be a confident, fierce CEO leading a team, right? So the total value for all of these systems is over $6,000. If you were to hire an OBM or an ops manager to build them out for you, you would expect to pay, I would expect you to pay at least $6,000 in monthly retainer fees at a minimum, all right? So with my Dream Team Intensive, you get the fully built hiring systems, you get the fully built onboarding systems, the fully built team management systems, the templates to run your systems, CEO training to be able to manage like a boss, and it's all valued over $6,000. We're going to do it all in one day. But this wouldn't be the amazing service that I know will set you up to hire the perfect VA today and lead a team of aces tomorrow if I also didn't include some extra special bonuses to help you really step up and turn into that seasoned CEO where you're totally comfortable hiring a VA, managing a VA, or any other team members that you might have, right? So my first bonus is a one-on-one VA assessment session where we will review any candidates that you have coming into your pipeline, or even review any of your current team members to make sure that they are a perfect fit for you. And this is where we will address their fit, their skill set, their alignment to the role, their responsibilities, and address any concerns or red flags that you might have about hiring or about a potential team member on your team, right? And that's valued at over $500. And what I want you to know is, like, I know what you're thinking. You know, when maybe you think, when I grow a little more, when I sign a few more clients, then my VA, my dream team will kind of start to fall into place. I'll take some baby steps. But what I want you to really know is that, I mean, as I grew my business, the dream team didn't just fall into place. And I was really nervous about hiring too. And I put it off to the point where I almost was at my breaking point, right? But when I did do it, I made a lot of mistakes. I wasted a lot of hours. I wasted thousands and thousands of dollars hanging on to poor fit hires before I was able to really crack the code online and apply the things that I knew from building high performing teams in corporate to the online business space. And now I have the proven process to hire, onboard, and manage a team of tens. And that's what I'm really bringing to you during the team intensive. All right. So when I'm thinking, I'm sure you think like, oh, okay, well, we've heard about bonus one, and that's the VA assessment session to make sure that you have the perfect fit candidate. And that one's valued at over $500. But bonus number two is to make sure that you can lead your team like a pro and plan your next growth steps, right? Plan your next hiring steps. And this is the onboarding evaluation session where this is expert support with you as you onboard your next hire or re-onboard your team. And we make sure that you're covering all of your bases during that session. And then we do a 30-minute debrief afterwards to give you any pointers and discuss what your team growth formula really looks like. What is the next step for you in terms of building out your team so that you have the optimal support to blast forward within your business? And that session is valued at $750. So the total bonuses that I'm giving to you guys as a thank you for registering for today's event is $1,250. And I know that this intensive is going to help you hire the perfect VA, and it's going to help you hire the perfect team, and it's going to be something that you use over and over and over again in your business. And because of that, I do offer a risk-free guarantee. So if you are not confident that you can lean on the systems to hire and manage the perfect VA, I will gladly work with you for free until you are. All right. So again, with my Dream Team Intensive, you get the fully built hiring system, you get the fully built onboarding system, you get your team management system, the templates to run your systems, CEO training, and it's all done in one day, valued at $6,000. And then you get my VA bonuses, right? The VA assessment session, which is valued at $500. And then you get the bonus onboarding evaluation session, which is valued at $750. So now I'm sure you're wondering, okay, well, how much is this going to cost? I could charge over $7,000 for this because it's that good. And I know it's that good, and I've had other people pay that amount, right? But I want to make this really accessible to those who really just need to up-level their business, who are really ready to step up and up-level and build a team so that they can start to scale. So instead of charging over $7,000, you can lock in your VIP Dream Team Intensive for $4,500. And you can use this process over and over again for the life of your business. And to get started, you just need to go to dianelam.co me VIP systems. I'm going to drop my link into the chat box. And to make it easier, I do offer a payment plan, right? So $2,700 to start to lock in your VIP day dates, and then the remaining balance due right before your VIP day. So head over to dianelamco.as.me to schedule a time for us to assess your systems to see if this is a good fit for you. And I do want to remind you to act fast, because the bonuses that I mentioned today are only going to be available if you book your systems assessment call by this Friday, right? We don't need to do the call by this Friday, but you need to have booked and confirmed your call by Friday for you to get these bonuses, okay? And before we go any further, I do want to tell you what you won't have to deal with again after our intensive, because you're going to be able to overcome a lot of the challenges and the uncertainty around your business, any uncertainty about what work your VA will do and how you'll use your VA to free up your time, any uncertainty about how you and your VA will work together, any uncertainty about where to look for your VA and how to hire them. Will overcome any uncertainty about how to onboard your VA so they can practically read your mind, any uncertainty about how you'll know if your VA is doing a good job, any uncertainty about managing and controlling your team. And then finally, you will also be able to let go of any fear and insecurity about unplugging from your business and really letting go. And the Dream Team Intensive blasts through all of these fears and creates the systems to really support that keeps you in control and certain while of your business, while you're comfortable delegating and leaning on a team to really run things for you. All right. So again, it's one payment of $4,500 to get started today, and you just have to drop into my VIP call link so that we can schedule a time to see if this is a good fit for you and to really assess your systems. And that will be a time for us to really lock in your dates. All right. So this is how you're going to get started. You're just going to go over and drop in a time for us to assess your systems and talk about timing, if this is really a good fit for you. If it is, then we'll go ahead and lock in your Dream Team Intensive dates, and we'll go into contract signing. And then finally, step 3 is you just need to show up for the intensive, and then I will do the heavy lifting and the systems building from there on out. All right. So again, this is where you're going to go to dianelamco.as.me/VIP systems to book your call and for us to talk about whether this is actually a good fit for you. And I do want to remind you kind of what attracted you to today's event. Maybe you're working long hours and you really need help hiring, but you're not sure where to start and you're nervous about the logistics of hiring. Or maybe you've been burned by a VA in the past and you don't feel free to manage your business. You feel really anxious and on edge, constantly checking in on your team. Or you do want to build a bigger team and you're not sure how to replicate your success as they grow. I want you to remember why you showed up here today, because obviously hiring is the next step for you. And my Dream Team Intensive is the opportunity for you to make sure you get it right the first time, and so that you're not wasting money on hires that are not a good fit or who are not really supportive of your business, right? And you might still, if you haven't scheduled a call, if you're not sure, maybe you have some doubts like, I want to hire a VA, but I'm not sure this intensive is a great fit for me. And I get it, because making the wrong hire is an expensive mistake, but not hiring at all and doing everything yourself is the biggest money mistake that you can really make in your business. And when you're clear on the process, you can really turn anyone into a unicorn. And I have those tried and true processes that I'm going to be giving to you during these intensives, right? And 100%, literally every single one of my clients has loved their new hires when they've gone through my team systems. Or maybe you think, hey, I want to hire, but I'm not sure these systems will actually free up my time. Well, if you're at a place where you're already kind of drowning in your to-dos and you're already stretched too thin, consider how much time you're spending researching, asking your peers, talking to your coach, watching YouTube videos, and you still don't have a clear plan for how you're going to do this and what you need to do. Well, instead of researching with free resources, let's create the custom growth plan and the systems to hire and onboard and train and manage those hires, right? You'll get the exact 1, 2, 3 step system to collapse your hiring timeline from over 3 months down to just 2 weeks, right? And then if maybe you're thinking, hey, I'm not sure if I have the time to do this. Well, the intensive is 1 day. You show up for 1 day and we will literally do the rest for you. Or maybe you're thinking, I want to hire, but what if it's the wrong fit? Listen, I totally get it, right? Hiring isn't foolproof. And I use my expertise and my experience from hiring for the last 15 years to create proven hiring onboarding systems for you that I guarantee you will work. My tried and true processes will screen out any bad fits before they even get to the interviewing stage. But if they somehow do make it through there, my management system will make sure that you know about it and you can kind of course correct or cut things off, nip that in the bud within the first 30 days. And most often, within the first 2 weeks, you will know and you can course correct, right? So that you're not wasting a ton of money on a bad fit hire. So what are you waiting for, right? Go ahead and book your systems assessment call so that you can get those bonuses. We can lock in your intensive dates so you can actually start to hire the people who will support your business and help you grow in the future. All right. So thanks for sticking with me, guys. You made it. Now we're going to jump into any Q&A while you, if you have it, I'm going to set a timer just so, because I know that we're already a little bit over. If you have any questions, go ahead and drop them into the chat. I know that there's going to be a lot of people watching the replay, and I did get a couple of questions sent to me via email. So I'm just going to go ahead and address them now while I wait for anyone who might have any questions. Just drop those into the chat. But one of the questions that I got via email was, what is the expected price range for VAs, right? So this, again, because VA is an umbrella term, it is a wide spectrum, right? It really depends on the scope of work. It's based off of the help that you need within your business, the services that they offer. But I would expect to pay someone who is kind of a more experienced VA, more of an executive assistant role. I would expect to pay between 40 and $60 for them, depending on their skill set. But don't let that really be a deterrent, because there's also the entire world, right? If you're willing to work remotely, there's a lot of VAs out there who have lower rates and they just happen to work in other time zones. And I'm not saying, hey, go out there and exploit somebody. Like, that's 100% not what I'm saying. I think you should definitely pay people what they're worth. Oh, is my timer not going? But oh, it's not going. Sorry. This is a new slide deck and like the timer was not going. Okay, fine. But there are options and resources available at every set of the spectrum. So make sure that you are just very clear on the work that you want to get done, and know that, hey, if you're going to spend a little less, you're probably going to need to spend a little bit more time managing them and giving direction. That's most often what I see is like, yeah, you can spend less, but there's probably a little bit more management, especially if they're in a vastly different time zone than you, right? Like if you're working with someone in Asia versus like, and you're stateside, yeah, you can get away pay, like you'll probably pay like, you can pay between $20 and $30 for a great hire. But know that the time zone issue is something that you're going to have to manage. And then also things that might get lost in translation just because culturally, or you're not, maybe there's not enough definition around a project, or you just really need to manage it a little bit more because your feedback cycles are quite long when you are working with somebody who is overseas, right? But that is that should not be a deterrent, because I definitely see VAs from across the spectrum. You can be successful with any of them as long as you follow kind of these steps early on, right? As you're bringing them on board. Does anyone have any questions while we're here? No? Okay. Another question that I got via email was kind of narrowing down kind of where to hire. There have been a lot of trends, I would say, in the online space. And in the past, you could hire, just going to like Facebook groups or various lead gen VA courses have their own sites and things like that where they'll help you match the VAs. I've noticed that there's been a lot of people who have joined the industry. I'd probably say since around last summer, there's been like a big influx of people and candidates joining the pool, and it's kind of diluted the talent pool, I would say, because there's a lot of newer people who are a lot more green to working online that still need a lot more support and help getting up to speed, who are actually charging quite high rates, right? So what I'm seeing is that VA rates are generally increasing, and that the experience is kind of dwindling down a little bit. It's like a little bit diluted, right? Because there's a lot more new people joining the space. So I still think the best place to look is to ask for referrals. Anyone who is an entrepreneur, anyone here probably knows a few people who are your business besties, your business colleagues within your business network. Those are the best places to really start to your search more than anything else, just because the bigger platforms that were really successful and easy to use in the past are just a little bit inundated right now, and it's not a place where you're going to be able to get a lot of really great hires unless you have a really clear screening process in place, because you'll get 100 applications back and need to sift through all of them, and without kind of some clear focus around how you do that, it can be really overwhelming to just kind of go to the open marketplace and post for a VA anywhere, right? I am not seeing any other questions, but I wanted to address those two because I know that they're going to be catching them on the replay. If no one has any other questions, I will say goodbye for now. And thanks, guys, for showing up today. I really appreciate you being here. And yeah, like, feel free to ping me. I hope you guys, book your assessment calls just so that you can get those bonuses and we can chat about whether this is a fit for you or what you might need instead. All right. So until next time, I will say goodbye for now. Bye everyone.